Sometimes the answer is just keep the dude that you already had. The news that came in right before the show started, Jorge Polanco, who has dealt with many injuries throughout his career, is undergoing season-ending surgery. So Bob Nightingale posts how he replaced Pete Alonso, or was supposed to, at first base DH, whatever. 37 games, 20 hits, 2 home runs, 6 RBIs. I'll save everyone the Pete Alonso stats. You can just go check those. They look pretty similar to every single season of his career. KP, Pete. It was a massive error in off-season analysis to say, oh, we'll take the injury-prone dude who's had his moments, but also has never been at first base, and we will have him replace one of the most consistent, durable first basemen in the sport.
Yeah, not only that, he's one of the most beloved Mets, maybe of all time. And he's a guy who wanted to be in New York, loved being in New York. And he was a guy who thrived under the biggest lights that there is in baseball in New York City. And just a miss by the Mets, especially to go out and replace him with a guy who's never really played first base, who's dealt with a lot of injuries. Not only has Pete been really consistent in his production, he's one of those most durable guys. He takes first base every single day, wants to be out there every single day. So definitely a big miss by the Mets.
Mm-hmm.
Pete's career OPS plus 136. Jorge Polanco, besides his first season where he had a 238 OPS plus and no at bats, 133. His best season still didn't compare to Pete's. And Pete never got average. Sizzle. Pete's average is better than Jorge Polanco's. Pete's average.
Polanco's best season, and you're right, the sizzle, aka the roids, which were back in the day for Jorge, but still, I mean, when you're evaluating a player and you're paying him a big leaguer. Money, you're a big leaguer. I'm saying the comment, oh well, you're bringing that up now. Well, it's all part of your story. It's all part of your big league story. Pete's clean as a whistle, durable as can be. He's there every day. He's a spiritual leader. He's an emotional leader, and he hits 40 dingers a year. So, lesson learned on that one. That's a glaring hole.
Run prevention.
The run prevention from Pete is better than the cavalcade that they threw out at first base this year. So that puts the end to that chapter when we said, I wonder how this experiment's going to work out. It did not work out in year one.
He'll be back next year. Got another year to do it for Jorge.
That's true. Polanco has another year to prove it. I mean, it's not going to get traded because obviously, he's had ankle issues. It's not a tradable contract. They'll hope that he can rebound and get back to a shell of himself. Again, this is not a knock on Polanco. This sucks for him. He's hurt, all that, right? It's a knock on the decision-making to let someone like that go when you had a perfect fit. And it's not easy to succeed like that in New York. A lot of people fail in bigger markets. All right, let's get to something fun. Not charge the mound, but it is time for All Smiles, presented by Lorraine Co. Okay, let's go over a team that is smiling after last night, and that would be the Milwaukee Brewers, Kratz. 22-0. It's one of the biggest blowout wins of all time. Shutout variety. In fact, I'll give you the fun nugget at the top. It's tied for the best shutout win in terms of deficit, right? In the modern era, if you go further back, did you see what the record was? I found it from a few smarter people than me online. Did you see what the record was for most lopsided shutout win in baseball history as far as what they recorded? It was not in this century. It was not in the last century.
It was 1887, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't see what the deficit was. What was it?
It was 24-0, and I think you'll like the teams because you have connections to both. The Indianapolis Hoosiers were the ones that lost. You played at Indy, right?
Oh, yeah. 2 years. It was Peyton Manning in the winter, me in the summer.
Exactly.
We were the superstars.
Yeah. Summer Kratz, Manning winters. And then the Philadelphia Quakers were victorious in that game.
And I live near and I live near Quakertown in Pennsylvania. I feel like I'm a part of this. I feel like I'm a part of history. 24-0. I wonder how many position players pitched in that game.
Well, I think the position players were the pitchers, and the pitchers were the position players, and I don't even know if they knew what they were doing back then. Maybe they did.
Probably a complete game by the losing team.
Probably. Well, in this one, we had all kinds of fun, right? So first off, let's go through the actual result of the game, and that it is just one game for the Mariners, although it is a very tumultuous season for them up until this point. They still have time to figure things out, but they are running out of time. On the Brewers side, Kyle Harrison had like a little bit of velo down early on in this game, and they were like, is he going to be okay? Is he going to make it through a long season? Then that picked right back up, still played very well. Here's someone who follows the team, Jack Stern, saying 10 whiffs, just 2 hard hit balls. Velo and command were off for much of the night. Pulled third time through after 79 pitches in 5 innings, although he did punch out 8. I will say, I mean, I watched part of this game eventually. I was like, all right, I'll watch the highlights. I don't need the 22-0 in Julio Rodríguez, forgetting how many outs there are. But I think Kyle Harrison is going to be okay. They might have to manage the workload down the stretch. But on the positive side of things, Kratz, I mean, this is a true clicking on all cylinders night for Milwaukee, including a lot of power.
It's clicking on all cylinders, but I think it also shows what they do have in the tank, because I don't think Kyle Harrison was elite Kyle Harrison that we've seen. So I'm not saying the Brewers are completely out of the woods yet. I'm not saying he's going to be throwing game 2 and Logan Henderson throwing game 3 after this. But what I love to see, he's always going to get swings and misses. He's got the pitch sneaks by guys, depending on the lineup. They just don't square it up very well, or they don't hit it very well. But sometimes when they do catch it, it goes a decent way. I love the fact that it was only 2 hard hits. I love the fact that he was able to push through an outing. Yeah, he got 5 innings, but he was able to push through it when he didn't have his best stuff. I think the Brewers pitchers have dealt with some cramping issues. I think he dealt with his last start or the start before. And it's really just building him up to be that guy in the postseason, which then brings me to the Mariners. Let's say the Mariners do get to the postseason. Let's say they do get to a spot where they somehow get the 3rd wild card in the American League. This is the kind of pitchers you're going to face in game 3. If they don't figure out how to hit guys like this, they're not even going to make it to game 3. Because if a pitcher that's not on is shutting down your lineup, how are you going to succeed in the postseason where you didn't succeed last year because you didn't hit?
You hope that everyone gets hot? I don't know. Is this a rhetorical question?
No, I'm just saying. It's not even a question. It's more of a statement. But I use the word, how can you do it? Like, you can't. They have to somehow they have to make an adjustment. And I don't see the team making an adjustment. I think the front office, rarely do I say, oh man, the front office made an adjustment. The front office brought back Naylor. They thought Ref Snyder was going to be the guy that would be like, okay, look at the year that he had last year. We're bringing him in to rake against lefties. We're gonna have a nice platoon advantage out there, even though it's kind of a duplicitous signing in the fact that they already have Victor Robles. But I thought Ref Snyder was a good get for a team that rarely does moves in the offseason, and they tried to add to this offense. And it's just it's the same thing over and over, but it's also the same thing that I'm not even seeing it like level out. I'm seeing them kind of like fade as the season goes on, which has been the Mariners' MO. And, some of that's the travel, some of that's lack of depth, whatever it is. But the starting pitchers don't fade. So if it's the travel, you would think every player on the team would fade. And it's, they have the starting pitching to make a deep run, possibly even win the World Series. I mean, win the American League, because the American League's down, but the offense they got to kick it into gear tomorrow. Like it has to happen now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just get it all out of the way in one game that gets as ugly as it gets. Or maybe, Gary Sánchez is just that good on the mound as a position player for the Brewers. Nasty.
That's El
He was
Gary.
better. Right. Luis Lara, first home run against a position player. Do you make fun of him in the clubhouse afterwards if you're a teammate? Like fun making fun of?
Yeah, for sure. But it's also your first big league homer. In your whole life, you'll know who you hit your first big league homer against, but you will also have it on your stat sheet that you hit a big league homer. And I don't care that it's against a bit. It may even be tougher to hit against a position player. I'm just saying.
One day someone's gonna be like, "Oh, who was your first homer against?" Rivas. What pitcher? Oh, Leo Rivas. He's not a pitcher. He was
you
that
mean
night.
Rivas, that's 6'7" righty from Santiago, Dominican Republic? He used to throw sink 98 to 100, and you're like, yeah, maybe probably not him.
What did you think of the situation all the way back in the first inning of this one where Jake Bauers had to dive back into the plate and, said he was not trying to knock the ball out of the glove of Cal Raleigh?
I would have said live when I first watched it, I was like, oh, that's 100%. Maybe not as egregious as A-Rod's slapping the ball out. But then when you watch the replay and, the umpire's right there, right at the play, I would agree with the umpire's discretion there. I don't think he tried to slap it out of his glove. I think he went right at the glove, which I don't think is against the rule, as we just had the rule up. If you're listening on the pod, like reading the actual rule, and I think the umpire, it's to the umpire's discretion, as many rules are, but I think he made the right call.
Mm-hmm. It's one game. I guess I'll finish with this, even though it might make the other side smile since they got more runs out of it, and I don't think he took it too seriously. But veteran forgetting how many outs, Julio Rodríguez later on. It happens a few times a year in our sport, right? Probably I'd put the over under in a major league game of true forgetting outs, tossing ball into stands at 1.5, 2.5, right? So
I'm gonna set
3
it.
times a year.
I'm gonna set it at 3.
Mm-hmm.
3. I know we've had 2 this year. Even Hall of Famers have done it. I think it's one of those things. You're playing with the timing in your head. Should you always look at the scoreboard? Yes. You're human. You make mistakes. The part that I love about this, because this is the all smiles segment, what people don't know is I think Yelly gets a RBI out of that, because you can't assume the runner on third wasn't going to score. I get it. They didn't make a play at him, but that is a sac fly. He tagged up, scored, RBI. He doesn't get the second RBI. That's an unearned run. So Rivas doesn't get an earned run there either. So that's huge.
Mm-hmm. Official scoring from Erik Kratz in all smiles, presented by Lorraine Co. To learn a little bit more about what they're bringing to the table, it's a big launch week for them where they've got a new product that is on the site. So they'll be working with us for the next few months. There it is. Very pretty. Baseball fans, it is time to lock in. Lorraine Co. remineralizing pouches are nicotine-free and made with powerful nootropics to keep you mentally sharp while supporting your teeth. Go to buylorraineco.com and use code FT10 at checkout for 10% off. That's BUYLARINE.com for 10% off. Okay, we will be right back to talk Phillies with Jim Salisbury. We have poppin' colors for Mack Weldon here. I've got a little green shade. You've got a nice blue shade. And what else do you love about Mack Weldon, Kratz?
I can be head to toe with Mack Weldon. I have the underwear, I have the shorts, I have the pants, I have the socks. Obviously, we got the shirt and the jackets, but it's head to toe comfort, no matter what piece they send. I even have a belt that looks sick.
And make sure you check out Mack Weldon's AirKnit X fabric to help you out. Their lightest fabric fused with nylon mesh for maximum airflow. Skip the midday wardrobe changes. The barely there feel also keeps you feeling more dry and more fresh. You can browse that collection at MacWeldon.com. Don't sweat the heat this summer. Feel as effortlessly cool as you look with Mac Weldon. Go to MacWeldon.com and get 20% off your first order of $125 or more with promo code FOUL. That's MacWeldon.com, code FOUL. Hey, let's get into the Phillies right now. The Phillies Show host, Jim Salisbury, joining us, and you can catch that show multiple times per week with his buddies Todd Zalecki and Ruben Amaro Jr. Jim, great to have you back on here, man. What's the latest? What's going on with this team? Can we start with the experiment too, right? Because a couple of weeks ago, I think they shocked the world with the Luis Ariz edition. Not the edition, but the way they did the whole shuffle. How is the shuffle going in your minds? Experiment at this point.
Well, they've won 5 in a row, matching a season high, first time since May. They're back to 11 games over 500. And the offense is really clicking lately in a way where they're not just sitting back and waiting for big home runs. They're actually getting on base more. Their team on base percentage for the month of August is one of the best in baseball. And putting pressure on opposing pitchers, scoring more runs, and just playing a better brand of offensive baseball. So I think it's been a nice addition. His approach, I think, maybe has rubbed off on a few people, but, Bryson Stott's been really good for 2+ months. Alec Bohm was having his best stretch of the season, and that's also increased the contact in the lineup. Harper lately is walking a ton. I mean, his on-base percentage in August leads baseball. He's getting on base every night, some way, shape, or form. Now is tied for the major league lead in walks. And there was some, they were teetering coming out of the break, but I think they've righted themselves and on a really good course now here over the final 35 games to get into October and see what happens. I mean, they still have holes. They're still very thin in that rotation. They're still suspect defensively, but lately the defense has been a lot better. A lot of their holes lately, or their question marks, have been answered positively, and they're just having a really good stretch here.
Hey, Jim, you never know how players are going to react to changing positions, but do you believe moving Alec Bohm from third base over to first base has kind of freed him up offensively?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know because he's actually played quite a bit of first base in his career. It's not foreign to him. He has gone over there and he's had a couple tough games, but more often than not, he's been either just fine or very good. But I don't know if the defensive move has freed him up as much as he's just starting to see some results. And I see just a more confident hitter. I see a more confident body language in the way he's walking around the clubhouse, going out to BP. Just his whole demeanor seems to be looking up. I mean, it was just 10 days ago. There were folks around town and fans and whatnot talking about DFAing him, as crazy as that sounds. That's not going to happen. He's an important guy on this team, but lately he's just picked up his offense, and he's just I think personally it's just all about getting some results and having some confidence. And Bryson Stott's the guy that's played great defensively at third base, and last night Bohm really joined the party. He had a unassisted double play at first base where he made a terrific athletic move. So I just think he feels better about his entire game. It's been a struggle for him all season. He's had an off-field personal issue that I think has weighed on him, but lately he just looks more free and easy to me. And I mean, you guys know, I think when you're more free and easy mentally, you play better, right?
Yeah, for sure. But you need to stop listening to WIP if you're talking about Bohm getting DFA'd, because you're never gonna DFA Alec Bohm.
I said it wasn't going to happen.
Else. Yeah,
I said it's not going to happen. Alec Bohm's a good player having a tough year.
Yeah, 100%, and he's going to end up with really good numbers because that's what he does every year, and it'll be an interesting free agent case. I think the Phillies let him walk. You mentioned Bryson Stott changing over to third base. Most people don't know his errorless streak at second base is still intact because he's not playing second base. Do you see this is the year where Stott wins his Gold Glove since you've watched him and now he could be up for the utility Gold Glove?
Yeah, that would be certainly, I think, a nice way to handle it, that utility spot, because he's bounced around. He was on his way, I think, to a Gold Glove, just playing exceptional defense at second base and moved over to third base in a year where he could have, maybe won the Gold Glove at second. And he's been great at third base. I don't know if you saw last night's game. He was playing great at third base even before last night. But they're in a 2-run game in the 9th inning, and Johan Duran is down for the night, and they're going to try to get through that 9th inning with Brooks Raley, and Chase Sugar is up in the bullpen, and they get 1, 2, 3 with Brooks Raley on the mound, and Stott makes 2. He looked like Greg Nettles over there, or Mike Schmidt. 1 diving to his left for the first out that I thought really changed the kind of complexion of the inning, because you don't want to get that leadoff guy on. And then he made another great one to end the game. So I almost thought he deserved part of the save. So he's been terrific over there, and he could win a Gold Glove. I think it would be really fitting for him to receive consideration for that utility Gold Glove, and I think he deserves one. This kid is he's a really good baseball player. If you go back to like June 10th, he's 4th in the majors in WAR, according to Fangraphs, for position players. I think he's been their MVP over the last 2 months.
All right, staying on the defensive topic, I got a question for you. Bryce Harper decides what's best for the team, him going back to the outfield when they go out and acquire Luis Arraez. I got a chance to watch Philly shortly after the All-Star break when they were playing Toronto. Bryce didn't seem like he had the same arm he had when he was a full-time outfielder. Have you seen some improvements in that arm strength? And I know it's very difficult because you're going to train a little bit differently as a first baseman than you would as a right fielder. But have you seen signs that he's getting kind of back to that outfielder that he was before the move to first base?
Yeah, he hasn't hurt them at all out there. He's been, more than adequate. If anything, maybe he doesn't move quite as well as he did before because he's had a little bit of a knee issue. He banged it right before the All-Star game, sliding at second base. I think it's natural that the arm's going to need a little build-up time. And the day they decided to implement this plan, he went out to the outfield immediately and started long tossing. So I think it's a work in progress, but it's certainly been adequate. He has really, I can't recall, I guess once there was a throw to the plate where he kind of aired it, and it looked fine to me. But this whole new defensive configuration to accommodate a bat they needed, a contact bat they needed, started with Bryce Harper. And if they get to October and have a nice run and Arraez makes a difference, I think you have to give Bryce Harper, and obviously the front office that made the trade, but you have to give Bryce Harper a tip of the hat, because that was an unselfish move to get a hitter in here, because the guy, he's got a great resume, but he's missing a world championship. He wants to win very, very badly.
And the fans want him to win one very badly. And you were talking about the last 14 days. 14 days ago, there was some fear that this team may not make the playoffs. Okay, let's say they are a playoff cinch now that they've won 5 in a row, which I don't agree, because there's some teams that are nipping on their heels. Is this bullpen playoff ready? The same bullpen that essentially lost them the last 2 playoff runs. And I know people are going to say, the offense didn't hit, but it was really the pen that lost it. Are they playoff ready?
Well, you're right about the pen. The last 2 Octobers, they've played 8 games, and they have a bullpen ERA over 6 and 5 blown saves. So the bullpen, along with the inconsistent offense and some defensive meltdowns last year against the Dodgers, they really beat themselves in that series. But for the last 3 years, you go back to 23, the bullpen struggled in Arizona, and that series really turned. Are they October ready out there? I don't know. They have personnel that's done it before. I just look at bullpens as being so up and down, so mercurial. that I think the key to them in October is going to be having one of their kind of upticks, which they can have at times. The good thing is, and you had him last October, you have a lockdown closer in Duran. That's been a heck of a pickup for the Phillies. The guy you really need to get going is Alvarado, who has struggled pretty much all year, hasn't thrown strikes like he has in the past. But if they could get him going here, he'd make a big difference. Bolin has been a nice pickup, pitching toward the back end, 8th inning in leverage. Kerkering is a guy who had a really good run to start the year, has kind of struggled a little bit here and there lately. If you can get him going, that's going to help you. So I do think, there's decent personnel there. But, if people are out there saying, I don't really trust the Phillies bullpen, I mean, I think there are reasons for that because of the season they've had, but it can turn quickly out there if guys can get on a good roll.
Well, is help on the way? Because reports are Nestor Cortez is in agreement on a major league deal to come there. Is the plan for him to go to the bullpen, or is he going to be in the rotation?
Well, I would think he's going to come as depth because from what I hear, he's going to need a little time to get ready. They did not add to the starting rotation at the deadline. And that was, it caught your eye because it was an area they really needed to address, starting pitching depth. So I think he comes in immediately as starting pitching depth. Maybe he can give these guys some rest if you can get him in there. But I don't know how long he's going to take, how long it's going to take him to get ready. After that, if he's getting people out, I could see him almost in any role, certainly in the bullpen, because that's what it's going to take. Is they need guys to get outs. And if he's going to get outs, they'll find a place for him in that bullpen in October, because their starting rotation in October is going to be, it's going to be Luzardo, Wheeler, Sánchez, Nola. But if he wants to complicate things at the back of the rotation or in the bullpen, they'll take it because they're thin in all areas of pitching. I mean, they have one breakdown, they're going to be in big trouble. So that's what this signing is about, addressing the depth issue that they did not address at the deadline. Much like last year when they brought in Walker Buehler late, I think this is very similar to that. But if he's up and ready to take some starts as this thing winds down, I could see them occasionally, maybe one or two turns, using a 6-man so you can get Wheeler, so you can get Luzardo and Sánchez all a little rest because they've all carried some pretty heavy loads.
And Sánchez and Wheeler have not been throwing the most strikes as they normally have. Maybe a little wear and tear. But how encouraged, or do you think it's fool's gold, Andrew Painter's return to the big leagues has been for the Phillies and what they think of him moving forward for this season? Not future, but just this season.
For this season, they want him to, kind of stabilize that 5th spot. And I don't think they're going to get greedy. If he can give them 5 good ones and keep them in a game, they're going to take it. If they can push it to 6, they're going to be elated. Is it fool's gold? I don't know. I think it's the natural growth of a talented young pitcher. It takes time. And, he got his nose bloodied quite a bit here earlier in the season, and he's grown from it. And what we're seeing is lately he's keeping him in games. I mean, there was some kind of evidence of that in his last outing, gave up a 1st inning grand slam, and it was like there was no woe is me. He stayed at it, and he kept him in the game, and they ended up rallying and got a victory. He stayed in that game, ate some innings, and they were able to come back and get a victory. So that was a growth moment for me. So I don't think his growth is fool's gold. I don't think he's going to decide this pennant race, but I think he can be a real contributor here down the stretch as he continues to grow and hopefully become a mainstay and a really productive, important contributor in future seasons.
I want to ask you a question about Schwarber. You got a chance to watch him over the last couple of years, day in and day out. Is he quietly putting together a Hall of Fame resume?
I think so. I think he can get to 500. Where is he right? He's pushing 400. Him and Harper are both pushing 400. He came into the season, I think, with 340. I mean, he could get 500 home runs in a Phillies uniform, and he's a habitual winner who, like, in 11 or 12 seasons, goes to the postseason every year except one. So I personally think he can get there. I think if he gets 500, it's going to be hard to keep him out. And I think, with that bat speed, and the fact that he's here for 4+ years, he's really, he had a little rough spot here in the last few weeks. Had a kind of a tender back, had a bit of a stomach issue, but he's back. He's back now, and if he gets to 500, don't you guys think he's going to be tough to keep out?
I mean, I think there's going to be the Kyle Schwarber / Giancarlo Stanton. Like, if they both make it to 500, are they going to keep them out? Are they going to be the two kept out with 500 that haven't been linked to steroids? I mean, that's going to be the question. He's won. He's that. Do you think he should have played or done the home run derby? Because I know it was bannered about that his back was a little tight, and then he decided to do it. Went deep into the home run derby, and then until I showed up at Alumni Day, he didn't have a home run. And I told Fransky, the radio announcer for your buddy Scott Fransky for the Phillies, I said, look, he'll hit a home run tonight. He'll be fine. His back's fine. I massaged it. But do you think he should have done that? And do you think that could have been a misstep that in Philly, like maybe a little distraction could have kept them, if you lose by a game, 2 weeks of Schwarber being hurt, scary.
Do I think he should? I think he made the right decision for baseball and for the city he plays in, because that's the type of guy he is. Because it was the home run derby in Philadelphia. Bryce Harper was in it. Everybody wanted to see their two hometown sluggers in it. They wanted to see the reigning National League home run king be in it. I do think he felt some pressure to be in it. He held out to the last minute because he wanted to get a good handle on the health of his back, because he had that little tweak earlier, and he decided to do it. Did he have a setback because of it? He hasn't admitted to that. He hasn't said that he has, but is it possible? Sure. We know athletes keep things to themselves and don't want to be perceived as excuse makers. So it might have given him a little setback. But this guy is a very unselfish player, as you know, and he's a wonderful teammate, and he always thinks of others. And I do think he was thinking of the sport and the show and the spectacle, and it was hard for him to say no. And it might have taken its toll on him, but hopefully it won't here down the road, and he's back on track. He had a pretty good at-bat late in last night's game. Hit a line drive down to the opposite field, produced a run, which was good to see. And he has come around here with some home run pop. They need him. They need them all. They need all their pieces to be clicking here down the stretch to make this happen. But in a lot of ways, Schwarber is the guy that makes them go. He is such a difference maker. When Kyle Schwarber is producing, this is a different team.
Yeah, final one for me. I know the travel to Iowa for the Field of Dreams game wasn't easy on anyone. What have you kind of heard about the players' experience of playing in that game?
They loved it. They absolutely loved it. It was difficult travel. They basically made a day trip where they flew in, bussed in, played a game, played well. Schwarber hit 2 home runs. That was a game that kind of got them going a little bit, because they lost 2 out of 3 in St. Louis leading into that Iowa series. And one of those games was with Sánchez on the mound, and the other loss was with Wheeler on the mound. And you cannot lose games with those guys on the mound. You have to cash in when your big 3 are on the mound, adding Luzardo to that list. So they go into Iowa, and Aaron Nola, who is everybody's favorite teammate, one of the most respected men in that clubhouse, has had an up and down season really for a couple years. Lately, he's really gotten it together. He goes out there and pitches great. Schwarber hits 2 home runs. I think everybody takes a cleansing breath. So though it was a demanding travel day, where they, like I said, parachuted in and then finished the day by getting on a bus and an airplane going to Minneapolis, though it was a really arduous day, I think it got them on on a bit of a right path, because they had that next day was an off day, kind of a reset day, and they went into Minnesota to finish the 2-game series and won those 2 games to complete a sweep, and now they're back home with a chance here on Wednesday night to sweep a very pesky Miami Marlins team. Boy, those guys put the bat on the ball. They never quit. They always keep coming. And if you can sweep this Marlins team, I think it's a real confidence booster and a good feat for the Phillies team as St. Louis comes in. 2 teams, St. Louis and Miami, looking up at you in the wild card race, a chance to deal both of those teams a blow. So it's a pivotal part of the schedule here, and they've done a pretty good job with it.
Yeah, those 2 teams you're mentioning are not fun to play. Those are not the easy dubs at this point in the season. Jim, good stuff, man. Good to see you, and love listening to you as always on the Phillies Show, part of the FT Network. Please, everyone, take a little time to subscribe to it. There it is. Get all the pretty faces on the screen there. Todd, Jim, Ruben, Running Point. QR code if you're too lazy to just type it in on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Jim, thank you. Good talking to you.
Yeah, my pleasure, guys. I hope you have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Hey, for those of you that are on your phones very often, or even if you don't use it much, you should check out your wireless bill and make sure that it is treating you well. It's summertime, you're feeling good, right, AJ? But are you spending too much on your wireless bill, and should Mint Mobile get involved?
As someone that has 2 college-age kids, Scott, they're always on their phone, whether it's they're checking their Snap, they're checking their DMs, they're checking their Twitter. I need $15 a month because I need unlimited quality coverage that Mint Mobile provides.
To get that new wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/territory. That's mintmobile.com/territory. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/territory. That's it. No catch. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. Includes up to 20 gigabyte hotspot. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com. It's Miller time. We have some light takes presented by Miller Lite. Let's spend a couple minutes on the Blue Jays and also the storyline that has to do with AL wildcard teams deciding if they wanted to buy, sell, or do a little bit of both, where they stand, and we'll get KP's take on if it's bad for baseball to be so close to a wildcard situation and then sell away parts like the Orioles and the Tigers did. The Blue Jays are a unique situation. So we'll start here, of course, with you, KP, and get your thoughts on what they did at the deadline and why it's working for them now. And I think the latest version of that is Brett Bateman. And that's someone that nationally was not well known, but within the Blue Jays organization, he was well known for his glove. Can you explain his impact so quickly to this team and how, of course, trading away Varsho, getting Arrighetti, even though he might not be the biggest contributor this year, has had some injuries, but getting Jose Soriano could actually mean this team's better since the trade deadline?
Oh, I don't agree. I do agree with that. I do think they're a better team. And in terms of Bateman, it's always tough saying goodbye to players that obviously helped the Blue Jays get in a position that they were in last year. People that are fan favorites, people that have done a lot for the organization. And I'm referring to a guy like Dalton Varsho. I'm referring to a guy like Kevin Gausman. But, if you look at kind of the underlying metrics with a guy like Varsho, he wasn't the same center fielder that he was the previous year. And without him really hitting to his potential and him being an impending free agent at the end of the year, they had to make a tough decision to kind of move on with him. And I thought they did a tremendous job in the return for him and getting a Spencer Arrighetti, someone who might not factor in right now, but all signs are pointing to him getting healthy. He had just pitched in AAA. He says he has no pain with that foot or toe injury that he has. I guess they made him a special orthotic for his shoe or his cleat, which has been bothering him. And I think he's actually going to be meeting with the team here in Tampa to throw a bullpen and kind of talk about the next steps moving forward. In terms of Brett Bateman, you look at the numbers, he's already kind of racked 3 outs above average. This is exactly what they needed. I think the big question was when Varsho was traded, who was going to step into center field, not only this year, but for, the following couple of years. And I think the Blue Jays front office, their scouting department did a tremendous job in finding a guy who more than likely was going to be buried in the Chicago Cubs organization. I don't know if you've heard of this guy, Pete Crow-Armstrong, who plays center field for the Cubs.
Thanks.
I don't think Brett Bateman had a clear path to the major leagues there. So, and there was a lot of discussion amongst Blue Jay fans that they felt like the return for Kevin Gausman going to the Cubs was light. And Kevin Gausman, obviously, look at the back of his baseball card, a tremendous resume, but hadn't been throwing the ball particularly well over his last handful of starts for the Blue Jays. And once again, give the front office scouting department a ton of credit for going out and identifying this guy who could kind of fill that void once they were able to trade Dalton Varsho. And obviously the big ticket item, going out and getting a guy like Jose Soriano. Arm talent like that doesn't show up on your doorstep very often. And the Blue Jays identified him as a guy they felt like, very much like Dylan Cease, who possesses, world-class stuff. Can we get him into this ecosystem with Pete Walker, our pitching department, the analytics department, and can we refine some of the things that he already does better than most people? And the early signs of what Jose Soriano has been showing is showing him trending in that direction. And there's not a lot you can do kind of mechanically, but I think the biggest thing we've seen from Jose Soriano is the pitch usage. In Anaheim or in Los Angeles with the Angels, for whatever reason, they wanted him using that four-seam fastball a lot more. Early signs are showing the Blue Jays want him to throw that sinker a ton more, and obviously that elite curveball, the combination of those two pitches, and then sprinkling in, the split finger and the four-seam. But you got to give him a ton of credit for kind of going out and buying and selling simultaneously. It's not really easy to do that, and I think Blue Jay fans have been really happy with their return.
Can we show that Mike Petriello tweet with the StatCast metrics for Bateman? So he said Bateman has been up in the bigs for about 10 minutes. He's already quickly racking up fielding value, which is what his scouting report indicated. Very cool to see. So showing already here the 3 outs above average in 5 minutes. We actually have seen this with him, and we mentioned this the other day, Kratz, George Lombard Jr., both of them barely playing so far and already kind of working their way up to gain significant stats that for some defenders they don't get for an entire year, or they end up in the negative. I guess the point here is we have some guys who can make a major impact in a short period of time with their glove, and we are seeing a little bit with him.
I mean, it's credit to the Jays for giving him a chance. Yes, he wasn't going to take over PCA. There's a lot of organizations that are like, unless you're catching or playing short, obviously center field is probably that third position defensively, maybe even fourth after third base, where you're getting a ton of value. But with a guy like Bateman, I think he had 5 or 6 home runs his entire career in the minor leagues. Not a power guy. So if he doesn't stick in center, he's not going to play right field unless you play in a place like Boston. So credit to the Blue Jays for being able to see a guy that, we want to continue our trend of defense with Andres Jimenez, we had Dalton Varsho, we have Gold behind the plate and Alejandro Kirk. Like, they want to continue their defensive prowess, and they plug a guy in, he gets a chance, and he rewards him.
What about the topic of the way that the Blue Jays handled the deadline? I know you mentioned KP versus what some of their other contenders did. Remember, we had, Tim Barbalais on the Orioles guest for us yesterday. And I think it was important to remind people that they were handing relievers away the last couple of years to teams that are then shoving it right back in their face. And that matters. That's a team that could miss the playoffs by 1, 2, 3 games. And you could look back at times like that.
Well, I think in the Blue Jays case, I don't think the players were doing the front office any justice by not coming out and playing really well. And then the American League was the gift that just kept on giving them. Like, they weren't playing well, but they weren't falling far enough behind to say, hey, we don't believe this team has a turnaround in them. And there was a lot of times, as someone who covers the team, I was ready to write them off. And then they would go on this like little mini stretch. The rest of the American League would kind of, falter. They get themselves close to 500, and then they lose 4 games. And this was just kind of this cycle that they kept running through. So the front office had a really difficult decision to make, and they did in my opinion, it's an A+ trade deadline. They got rid of some of the guys, and I know it was emotionally really tough for the players, the organization, the fan base to get rid of guys like Kevin Gausman, who may go down as the greatest signing in Blue Jays history for what he did, for the amount of money they signed him at a time when a lot of players didn't want to cross the border to play. He lived up to that contract, and he was, beyond what he did, for the team on the field, the things he did off the field. It was a difficult decision, but to bring back a guy like Jose Soriano and really kind of swap those two players, I know they went different places, but to bring in a guy like that, you can't drop a better deadline for them, because the team, once again, the team didn't help their cause by not getting off to a good start and then not playing really good baseball. But you've kind of seen the direction this team has really gone in after the trade deadline. I think there was so much uncertainty up to the deadline, and then you kind of get this shot in the arm of a guy like Jose Soriano, and then you kind of get this unknown and Brett Bateman, and he's just kind of been just an absolute stud for them in center field. He's a pesky hitter. He's running down stuff in center field. And I think the fact that the players felt like the front office didn't give up on him, in fact, they actually believed in him, I think you're seeing a better product on the field right now.
Last piece of the puzzle here is the team identity, run prevention, and pitching to an extent, right? You've got some good starters in here, and then I know they've been missing many starters, but there's some good starting pitching talent in here. And then, of course, Varland at the back end to finish things off for Toronto. I ask it just because they also have had the Vladdy Jr. problem all year. He doesn't look himself. I believe they're towards the bottom in some of the significant offensive categories, right? I think
no, they are in the bottom.
Are they last
batting
in
average
runs per game still?
Yeah, runs per game, batting average, hitting with runners in scoring position, hitting with the runners in scoring two outs. They're near the bottom in all those statistics. I mean, they're middle of the pack with batting average, but look at these other statistics. They're at the bottom of the pack in those things. But no, I don't think coming into the season that was their whole identity. I think they've kind of morphed into the idea of, okay, let's go out and just get a better starting pitcher, Jose Soriano. Let's add to the back of the bullpen. Let's go get guys that can go really, really go get it defensively. I don't think this was their identity coming into the season after the season they had last year. The Blue Jays kind of changed baseball a little bit, in their identity of the Blue Jays were just an extremely tough team to strike out. They were putting the ball in play, and they were doing enough damage at home plate, slugging enough. They weren't a top 5 team in home runs or slug, but, they were a top 10 team. But I think just with Vladdy having the type of year he had, George Springer having some natural regression from what he had last year, Alejandro Kirk missing so much time this year, and he's really starting to pick it up. He's starting to look like himself and be healthy. I think they had no choice but to really kind of double down on, part of their identity, which was pitching and defense. But, in a perfect world, I think that would have been part of the puzzle. I think offensively, they expected a lot more out of them this season. It just hasn't really worked out for them.
All right, good light takes from KP on what we're seeing with Toronto in the AL wildcard picture. And this segment was brought to you by Miller Lite. Why not go grab some Miller Lite today? Because game time is Miller time. Must be legal drinking age. Celebrate responsibly. Vintage Joe, the great Joe Maddon, joining us again here on FT. Joe, it's great to see you. We love these conversations. And I heard you recently talking about Kyle Tucker. I wanted to jump right into that. I think it's such a delicate situation, and you mastered the psychology. I know you're humble, but I'm going to say it during your time managing players like this. So just take me through A to Z. How do you handle this? And did you hear Erik, who had a great career, of course, talking about how he thought Kyle Tucker should maybe get a reset in Arizona? Is that a thing?
Yeah, it could be a thing. Good to see all you guys. First of all, thanks for having me back on. And we went through that. Verducci and I went through that the other day. And when you get such a great player, listen, I was at the front of the list of liking this guy. I think when I saw him with the Houston, when I was with the Angels for a bit there, and even briefly with the Cubs, I thought this guy was as good as Soto. And I still think you're going to see a nice rebound at some point. But what he's doing right now is so. Wow, it's just actually hard to believe. So for me, yes, back off. That could be the fake DL. I don't know the IL. There could be something that can be done for that. He needs the reset, is whatever the word is, to just get him off his feet, get him away from all of this, let him unwind mentally a little bit, talk to him. I mean, there's got to be a lot of conversation involved with this. I would not suggest trying new things. Do not suggest new batting stances or new approaches and things of that nature. If anything, just go back to his old videos and say, this is what you look like. Let's get back here. But don't attempt anything new or different. I would not do that. So it would be a lot of listening. Where's he's at, and even furthermore, like what's going on in his private life, personal life. I mean, if you wanted to open up to me about that as his manager, that'd be very interesting to hear also. So this is all encompassing. And then for me, I Ken Ravizza, you remember Kenny at all, the sports psychologist, mental skills coach that I had with the Angels and then with the Rays and then with the Cubs. Somebody like that really could be very beneficial. Now, I know Kyle's a private guy. I understand that. However, at some point, somebody's got to open up to somebody. He's got to trust somebody. And you got to find out from that person what their perception is of what's going on, because it's way deeper than physical mechanics. There's no question about that. It has something to do with that, but a lot more to do with about what he's thinking, how he's breathing, what he feels like walking to the ballpark every day. What's going on here? So I really want to know that first before you could really try to decipher and then put together a game plan to bring him back together. But the last thing he needs is more swings, different thoughts, more video study. All that stuff is just going to confuse things.
All right. So, but doesn't that have to happen before he's an average player right now in August? Doesn't that have to happen as soon as he gets the organization? Because you played and you coached when there was very few sports psychologists in the game. It was Harvey Dorfman and anybody else who wanted to do something. And when Harvey Dorfman came up to you when I was with the Blue Jays, people are like, oh, that guy's hitting 220. He needs to talk to Harvey. So doesn't that have to happen before? And do you think that's something that you would have to set up as a manager, or is that a organizational thing?
Yeah, just to backtrack, you're right. I mean, for me, when I had Kenny, we would always set up meetings, group meetings in spring training, hitters and then pitchers separately with Ken Ravizza, who was right there with Harvey, because I knew Harvey very well also. So you would get in advance of all this stuff and you lay the groundwork, because I never wanted to say, you got to go visit Kenny or Harvey, whatever. I wanted the player to want to do that. So you have to establish the relationship, and the player's got to know, okay, where's he coming from? Can I trust this guy? What's he going to talk about, et cetera? Because like you said, it was almost it's like a scarlet letter when anybody was seen talking to anybody from a mental skills or sports psychiatrist psychology position. Agreed with all of that. So for me, you get in ahead of all that, absolutely. However, if it gets to the point now where he has not been going through all of that, he needs a process. He needs to slow it down. He needs to be able to breathe. He needs all the different things that provide or permit the routine, going from just actually probably just showing up at the ballpark every day, because I know his home numbers have been outrageously bad. So there's something there. There's something going on. But I would want somebody professionally to help me with this thought, somebody that studies this stuff often or daily, and then also try to lay over my expertise as a manager, coach, whatever, for many years, and then you start developing your game plan. But I think it's a lot more deeply ingrained than just thinking that more work or more video study or adjustments are going to work right now.
Oh, I want to ask you about the Ketel Marte situation. Mm-hmm. How difficult of a situation is it for Torey Lovullo, and how would you handle that situation if you were his manager?
Yeah, I've been reading about that. First of all, it's the knee, and then there's a personal problem. Correct?
Well, he just didn't show up. He just didn't show up one day. He flew with the team to Boston, and he just didn't show up to the field. And then the following day, they said they sent him back home to get an MRI, but he just didn't show up. Gotcha. No contact with the team. Yeah,
that's not cool, as we all know that. Again, I'm not going to fly off the handle. First of all, I'd be concerned. Why is he not here? Track it down. What's going on here? Is he all right? That's always going to be my first concern. Is the guy okay? Because it's such abnormal behavior. You just can't assume, or you can't get angry because somebody pulls something like this. There may be even though it's not acceptable, we don't want this. You just can't do that here. However, I would want to know more about it. So I'd have to do that research first of all. The knee thing, I guess that had been coming on for a bit, or it's been talked about. So there's probably something there, but it sounds as though whatever's happening in his personal life really is supersedes all this and is way more important. So I would, again, I'm all about conversation and trying to get down to the whys here, and that's just what being. Just talk to me, man. Just open up what's going on, and this is where the level of trust has to be established. The relationship has to be built so that I can have this conversation with you. You can have this with me, and know that I'm not going to carry it anywhere else. I mean, I often had conversations with players, and I would say, listen, whatever you say to me stays between you and I, unless you give me permission to speak to somebody else about this. And I would ask, like I'd say, for instance, this might be beyond my pay grade. I don't really have a good idea what the next step should be. Would you mind if I spoke with so-and-so? And if the player would say, yeah, absolutely fine. Or if he said, no, I prefer you not do that, it would stay right there. Your guys got to know that. And so this is very difficult. I mean, for Torrey right now, absolutely. But I would be more concerned about him finding out what's going on there first. It sounds like the knee is almost secondary.
Yeah. My follow-up too is you talked about conversations. We know how important Ketel Marte is to the Diamondbacks, and this is a team fighting for a postseason, a wild card spot. Do you have a conversation with the rest of the team about maybe deflecting kind of the distractions that come with this?
It depends. It just really depends on what level this is at. A lot of times I would go to like the veteran players and I would tell them what I can't tell them and ask them to possibly pass it along among the group, guys that are very influential. If this continues along this path, or if it's something that's going to require more time, yes, I may have to call some kind of a gathering there, because I'm not really big on that stuff. But when it's absolutely necessary, of course I would. Normally I start with the most influential guys in the room and let them spread it. My lead bulls. I always had my lead bulls right in my meeting in spring training, and I would really try to empower certain members of the team in the clubhouse that really have that cachet about them, that there's no question coming from anybody else in the clubhouse when this person speaks. I think when you do empower your lead bulls within your group, the place has a tendency to run better, because a manager should be the last line of defense regarding putting out a forest fire within the clubhouse. The first line is always going to be those dudes that really should be feel empowered to take charge in the moment. So that's probably what I would have done. I would have gone there first, and then if I felt like it reached a more critical point where it was necessary for me to intervene, then I would. That's how I've always done things. I like the idea of empowerment. That's the way the world used to work. It's not so much too much. Today's world is about control, and I've always believed about empowering. I believe those that want control everything all the time, those voices wear out very quickly, and people stop listening to you. Whereas if you empower a group, that way you have this group discussion that we all come to conclusions that we all have, among the lead bull group, and you have this consensus kind of thing that gives it more power among the rest of the group. So that's what I like to do.
Good leaders empower. Bad leaders try to control and micromanage.
There you go.
You got it.
That's right.
You got it, Joe.
Yep.
Cal Raleigh's struggles this year are very evident, and it's more highlighted because he had a 60 homers, almost MVP season. How do you go about that as a manager when you have seen the highest of highs and the lowest of lows in back-to-back years from your star player, but you are also trying to win? It's getting to a point where you might need to give a guy a day off that you, as a manager last year, didn't give any days off, so it could be partially you to blame.
I wrote that down when I saw the topic. He caught like 120 some games, but he also DH'd primarily on those other days. So there really was very little downtime. And that's such, as you know, a real exhausting position. People have no idea unless you catch. And those that, I was a backup catcher. I played a couple times a week, and you could absolutely do that. It's sustainable. But when you're a guy, you're an everyday Major League Baseball player, just as a position other than catching, that's tough enough. But if you're an everyday player in the major leagues as a catcher, wow. Physically and mentally, that's about as difficult as it gets. And in today's game, where there's so much information, that's the catcher becomes a conduit between whomever, front office, dugout, to the pitching staff and whatever, starters, relievers, everyone. it's taxing. I just think last year may have just beat him up a little bit more than he knew, and the fact that they played so late into the year, recovery was different. And then he goes right into the WBC at the beginning of the season. There's a lot going on there, and there's a lot going on in that position. I believe he's going to come back. I'm a big fan of this guy. When I first saw him when I was still with the Angels, tremendous bat speed. I liked him behind the plate. He has a presence about him. There's so much to love about this guy, but right now he does need rest. He does need a more scheduled rest period, not just using the days off, like i.e. Wilson Contreras. When I had Wilson just breaking him in, I tried to not use him more than 3 days in a row. And then when it got towards the end of the season, I let it go to 4. It was really crucial and critical, and I thought he was fine. So guys like Raleigh, I would say 3 days in a row max. Give him that day off. See, the day off starts after the game the night before. If you know you're going to get the next day off, you leave, you go home, you turn it off, you get up the next morning, maybe you sleep a little bit longer, your routine changes. I'm totally turned off. I don't turn that dial up at all. And then this whole day actually does become an off day. Those kind of oasis moments could really empower a player. So that's what I would do with him. I would put him on listen, 3, maybe 2. I don't know, 2 and a day off, but 3 and a day off. Listen, we're going to do this for the rest of the year. And if there's really a tough pitcher for him, I don't know which side he's doing better. Or I know he's not doing well from either side. But if there's a really bad matchup, don't let him play. Don't let him play, just from history. So just try to build him up slowly. But by next year, I want to see what happens because I have a lot of faith in this guy.
I want to talk to you about the Yankees sitting down Anthony Volpe. What advice would you give him if you were the manager in that situation? And tell me about maybe a conversation you had with someone that was a little bit more established, like Anthony Volpe, when you sent him down.
Oh, it happens. It happened. I don't know how established Schwarber was or Ian Happ was, but guys like that with the Cubs had to send him back out. I'm trying to quickly think back in my Devil Ray days and Rays days, but I know it did happen. What you do is it's for their own good, and I know they don't believe that. They don't want to accept that. We talked about this before. You just be straight, right between the eyes, honest with them. They're not going to like it. They're not going to accept it. They're going to think you're wrong. They're going to go to their buddies immediately after that meeting and say, "Do you believe this? That they're sending me back down? And this is what he said to me." That's how this all works, and that's okay. But after he comes back, the player comes back 2 weeks, whatever, and all of a sudden everything shifts and he's got his breathing back together. Everything's slowed down. He's seeing the ball in Volpe's situation. Even last year, I saw him hitting a ground balls to him at shortstop. He's going down to one knee. I took that as a bad sign immediately. He lost his ability to play through the ball. Everything became tentative. Even his, look on his face. I'm a face guy. I look in the faces, good face, bad face. And sometimes, if anybody's just like really wrapped up and it's getting too quick, you could see it very quickly. And that's what was going on with him. So these are the kind of, you'd be very, very honest with him. I would not doubt, or I would not be surprised if, in fact, he becomes more of a utility guy. To play shortstop, if he wants to get back to that position, he's got to stay on his feet more. He's got to play through the ball better. The arm's got to be more accurate. Those are the kind of things he needs to get done to be able to be a regular major league shortstop. I thought when he first came up, I thought he was kind of the glue of that group. But all of a sudden, again, things might have started to mentally gone too quick for him. So those are the things I would do with him. Straightforward. This is the game plan. This is what we're talking about. And let him work on that stuff and don't rush him back. There's no reason to rush him back. The shortstop they got up there right now, I like that kid a lot. I saw him, I think his first game up. He's got the right look. He moves really well. He's smooth. His actions on the field are outstanding, and I think he's going to hit.
That's good stuff. Yeah, I'm a huge Lombard fan too of what we're seeing.
Yeah.
The glove looks like it was ready 2 years ago. So one follow-up on this, because I know you have watched Volpe over the years, and a lot changed over the last couple years. Have you ever come across, or how does a manager deal with a situation where maybe, and I'm not saying this was the case with Booney, but where maybe you're looking and you're like, hey, there are better options out there at shortstop, but the front office is really pushing this guy on us because he was a highly regarded pick, right? And, he's one of our analytic superstars in the minor leagues. I mean, they gave him 4 full seasons of really, suboptimal baseball when you add it all up at a premium position. They skipped shortstops in free agency, trade, etc. So, I know a manager doesn't have the say anymore, but can you at least put the recommendation, hey guys, I think we might need a different shortstop for next year?
Yeah, I mean it's group talk a lot of times, and you're right. It's going to be even if you're seeing it as a manager, a staff member, this isn't the right fellow for this position. We don't see it getting any better right now. You're not going to be able to shout down the group up top, the baseball ops department, the analytical dudes. It's just the power structure is completely reversed regarding making decisions. Which there's part of it I'm really good with, and there's part of it I'm not. So yeah, it's a tough spot to be in for Booney right there. I think it was pretty obvious, but his job is to defend publicly. He's not going to criticize Volpe publicly with all the New York newspapers, the media, et cetera. He can't do that. I mean, to destroy the kid, you got to defend. Seems like a great kid, so you're going to do that. Played hard. All that stuff is in order. It's just that things got too quick. And again, I've never been a fan of the way he approaches a ground ball. Not right. I mean, you're talking about, I'm thinking about Gary DeSarcina in AAA when DeSar was in a slump fielding ground balls, and DeSar turned out to be a really good shortstop. I'm up there in Edmonton. I made him hold a baseball in his bare hand and catch everything one-handed. And I wanted his feet moving. I wanted to play through the ball. That's all we did. That's all we did because everybody thinks it's a two-hand game. It's not. It's a one-handed game. Ground balls really are actually received one-handed. When you get that other hand in the way, it becomes stiff. So I've always put a ball in the bare hand, and then you play through the ball with your gloved hand and play through the ball. The other hand will come up when it's necessary. So I went through the same thing with DeSar. DeSar was outstanding on the major league level. It can be fixed. There's no question. But the kids, it's going to be, like I said, the way when an infielder, middle infielder, shortstop goes down to one knee to field a routine ground ball, that's always a concern of mine.
I want to ask you about CJ Abrams. The Nats asking him to change positions. Do you think it's a bad idea to ask a guy to change a position, at this point of the season? How would you handle that situation?
Well, I mean, first of all, I got to know the kid, CJ, and I don't even know what the conversations were like prior to that. Moving forward, do we see this as being something permanent? Is the guy that's going to take his place? Like, for instance, when we took Starlin Castro off shortstop and brought up Addison Russell, we felt as though that was the one significant move that's going to permit us to really shore up our defense and be as good as we possibly can be now and in the future. So Abrams, the kid's nice. I mean, he could swing the bat. The way he moves, whatever. But there's a lot of outfielders playing shortstop these days because I think analytics wants these guys on the infield, and they think that it shows up better. I haven't watched him well enough to really be critical or complimentary. I don't know defensively what that looks like, but I do know offensively I like what I see. So if they have somebody that they see in the future, there's nothing wrong with that right now. I mean, they're barely a couple of games below 500. I like them, by the way. I like the Nats. I like watching them. There's some young dudes there that I really kind of enjoy, and if they get the pitching together, they could be kind of interesting. So if this is something long-term that they see that's going to be beneficial for the team and for him with the appropriate guy that we're going to replace him with, I have no issue with it.
How do you deal with a guy like Jazz Chisholm? Jazz Chisholm's energy, he's boisterous, he's very demonstrative in a lot of things that he does, and sometimes could be perceived from the outside as looks like it's getting in the way. When he's in a slump at this point in the season, do you go to him as a manager and say, hey, I don't want to change who you are, but we got to push through part of what's going on here, and I think these are the things that are getting in the way?
Wow. First of all, I love him. I'd love to have worked with Jazz Chisholm. That would have been a blast for me. Now you're talking about Garrett Anderson and Jimmy Edmonds right now. GA always played at, God bless him, GA played at one level all the time. And it was time when he was hitting well, everybody thought that's just GA being GA. When he wasn't hitting well, they would be critical of what he was doing. Otherwise, although he had not changed a thing, Jimmy Edmonds, would be very demonstrative also when things weren't going well. He would like hang dog. He would walk back to the dugout, head down. People would be all over his body language, and they'd be all upset with Jimmy because of his body language. And my mentor, Bob Clear, would say, don't look. Don't look. And he was absolutely right. Sometimes, we're going to get caught up in all these little components of a player that really don't matter. I mean, if he's playing hard and if he's getting after it and you know what that's like and you're talking, you see that every day. What's his work look like? Some guys are just different. They have different motors. We don't all come equipped with the 454 SS or fuel injection or whatever. We all come with different motors, but that doesn't mean you have to be revved up all the time in order to care. I think sometimes we get confused with that. And this is something I learned from a GA, from a Jimmy, and guys like that. Of course they cared. Of course they cared, but they just the way they handled themselves, portrayed themselves sometimes, perception was differently. So I would talk to them about it. Talk to them about it. Again, you have to have these conversations. So Jazz Chisholm to me would be one of my favorite dudes I would want to work with. That's the kind of talent you want. That is super talent right there. He's going to do some things that are awkward, like the lollipop thing, whatever it was a couple. Listen, just don't do that. I mean, now you're going to have to answer the questions. I'm going to have to defend you. Don't put me in that position, brother. It's not worth it. Come on. So just things like that are going to occur. But this kid here could be so good for so many years. Live body, big pop, steal your bag, play several positions. What else do you possibly want?
All right, I got to ask you about Paul Skenes. What are you seeing out of him? Do you see someone that obviously has set the bar so incredibly high for himself?
Yep.
Is he in a slump, or are you seeing maybe some dead arm? And how should the Pirates handle this situation?
Yeah, a lot going on over the last couple of years. He went from college and he went right into Jump Street here, and all of a sudden everything got amped up. They tried to take care of him early on, and they did. But nevertheless, I mean, he is who he is. He's a big, strong right-hander, and all of a sudden he's become a little bit more human lately, and that's okay. The thing I've always watched that I was concerned about when I listen and whatever read about him, always trying to invent new things. And I know his pre-game workout is spectacular. Maybe just back off some things a little bit and maybe just cull down the pitches that I'm trying to utilize and stay with what I do best. See, I've always like when I had pitchers that would come up with a new pitch and all of a sudden they want to bring it into the game, I would say to them afterwards, you realize you had two or three other choices that were better than that pitch, but you just wanted to insert it and that ball got whacked around a little bit, whereas you had three better choices to make. The hitters will let you know when you have to become creative and come up with that next pitch. So I don't know enough because I'm not there, but I would just try to streamline what he's doing, maybe back off the work prep wise a little bit. I mean, this whole thing right now, the way baseball handles pre-games, this choreographed pregame every day, where guys that should have been doing this stuff in triple and double A and A ball are now compelled to have to do it on the major league level because they have not been taught all the nuances of what their position might require. Back off this work. They don't have to be at the ballpark that early. Back off. It's just like this choreography that's being done because people like to sit upstairs and look down on the field and see work being done and think that's the answer. Look how many teams are 500 or less than. Look at the AL situation and all this stuff that's going on. Does anybody ever think about resting these guys a little bit? Don't you ever think about backing off all the stuff that you're telling them all the time and how confusing it can be? The answer has always seems to be that they want to do more physical work, give more mental things to think about. And the whole time you have a 500 or less ball club. What are we doing here? It's turned into that. Everybody's working off the same sheet of music and nobody even talks about that. I think a lot of the mediocrity is because they're almost interchangeable. The baseball ops departments in each from organization to organization are almost interchangeable because they're all working off the same sheet of music. And there's a couple outliers that are kicking butt, i.e. the Brewers, i.e. the Rays. So these are the kind of things that nobody ever talks about and could be the simple solution. I used to do American Legion Week this time of the year. I wanted you to come to the ballpark at 5, put your unigram on. If you want to take a couple swings in the cage, go ahead. I don't want you on the field. Game starts at 7:05 or whatever, 6:40, whatever they're doing. Show up just like you did in American Legion ball and whack the first pitch into the gap. It works. You don't have to, all this stuff that they're doing right now is counterproductive. Absolutely 1,000% believe it.
All right. I feel compelled to tell you this because you mentioned Edmonton. I got the honor and privilege to sit down with Mark McLemore yesterday, 19-year
My
Major League
boy.
vet.
Oh, my
and
man.
he said you had the biggest impact on his career when he first got into professional baseball. So I want to tell you that. I tell you that story to ask you, do you miss it?
Oh, I miss. Okay. Speaking of Mark McLemore, do you have a minute? Could I extrapolate on? Okay. Every August, when August came around, when I was rookie ball manager, I would get the guys out in the bleachers down the left field line at Chemeketa Field in Salem or in this old ballpark in Idaho Falls. And because by this time they're all wanting to go home. They can't, the season got to be over. I got to get back home. With Fluff, McLemore's nickname was Fluff. Fluff wanted to get back to San Diego, all this other stuff. So I'd sit him down and say, listen, you have to understand one thing. Everything that you miss no longer exists. It's not there anymore. It's in your head. That's the way that's what when you have a quiet moment, you're lying in bed at night or just just gazing off into the future, whatever. Those things don't exist anymore. So what you miss no longer is there. So that was my way to get to motivate them for the last month of the season, because by the time you get home, believe me, where you hung out is not going to be the same. The dudes are not going to be the same. The girls are not going to be, it's not going to be the same. Even though you want it to be, it's not. So baseball is not the same. There's no way that to show up at the ballpark every day and know that you're not able to make an impact based on your experience. It's very difficult. I mean, why do it? You have to have the ability to show up. And I'm a collaborator, the biggest one you've ever met in your life. And I would love to collaborate. I want everybody else's input and ideas. However, when it gets to the point where it's really not needed or sought after anymore, and everything you've done before today does not really matter to what's going on, there's no fun. So you could talk to a lot of guys that have done it before. A lot of guys like me, they'll tell you the same thing. And I speak out more because I can primarily, but there's a lot of guys that will get in touch with me and say the things that I'm telling you right now. I'd like to see just a little bit more in school as opposed to old or new school. I'd like to see the ability to bring your experience, your intuition, your gut feelings to the field and have it really be obvious, because you're setting up the game plan. You are constructing the pitching staff. You are permitting guys to throw 110 pitches on a night when it's obvious that he can. You're able to make a bullpen guy go 3 days in a row because you've spoken with him, you've consulted with your bullpen coach and others, and everybody's assured you that he's fine to go today. And then you have to go talk to him. Go talk to Rysel Iglesias. Hey, Socio, what's going on? Can you really do this? Or Soriano, the guys that I've had in the past, they would be upfront with, yes, I can, or no, I need a day. That's all. I just need honesty. But all these metrics and sheets of paper that are placed in advance, month by month, and you're trying to figure out who can play and when they need days off, and pitchers how often a bullpen guy could pitch. No fun. So that's it. It's not what it had been.
Joe, I still think the majority, 90% of the game is exactly what you did really well. You delved into the person, because the game is still played by humans. So you could still make just the same impact. Look at what Stephen Vogt's doing. Look at what Pat Murphy's doing. Those guys are impacting the person, the player. So you would still do it. Maybe it doesn't look quite the same, but you would still do it.
No, I'm not. Okay, that's, if you're going to talk from that level, I'm not disagreeing with that. I could. I mean, because I love my guys. I mean, I love the interaction. I love the conversation. You know what I love most about the day of going to the ballpark? I love the day. The ingredients of the day. From the moment you wake up and all the little different things you do before you get to the first pitch of the game, and then what happens afterwards. I loved the day. And you have to be permitted to fill those moments up the way you believe is the right way to fill up these moments, and not somebody else's perception of what needs to be done right now, based on the fact that they've honestly never put together a schedule in their life, and they have no idea what is necessary. So that's it. I mean, yes, if you're going to bring a voter who I love, absolutely love Voter. Voter's outstanding. And Murph and I talk all the time. So yes, I don't disagree with that.
All right, you brought up something that's completely off what we were talking about. You brought up the Rays and the Brewers. Do you believe in this market, in this game of baseball of next year, they were each given $50 extra million, they would dominate Major League Baseball more, $50 million more than what they're dominating now?
No, I don't. Their method of operation, of course, they'd be able to find hire a couple more good players, but I don't necessarily think it's going to ensure the fact that they're going to be even $50 million better than they are right now. I don't believe that. They're perfectly fine doing what they do right now. The philosophical approach, the method they've employed within the clubhouse and the culture they've created is really imbued. It's imbued, man. It's impenetrable. And I don't even know that maybe that would kind of mess things up. I don't know. But I think they're fine the way they work in their scouting department, their player development department, how they yin and yang it all the time, how they fit pieces together, how they come up with great pitching, how they play wonderful defense. Anybody can do that. I mean, any organization, if they apply themselves, probably can do that with less. Like the Dodgers have all this money, but a big part of their success has been what they've done on the minor league level. So I don't think $50 million really guarantees anything. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they get a better facilities, which is always good. But when it comes to personnel, not necessarily.
We went to a lot of directions. Appreciate the extended time, Joe. We had a little bit more today, so thanks for doing that. And on the way out, I do want to make sure everyone knows these conversations also go down on Book of Joe, and I listen to that every week with Joe Maddon and Tom Verducci. The title of the latest episode is a good one, Spinning Some Yarns, YARNS, in case you don't understand my accent, of August baseball. Joe, appreciate you. Thank you.
You guys are wonderful. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Love having you. Thank you.
Be well.
Joe Maddon.
All right. Take care.
Let's talk Fabletics, shall we? They have apparel for every season. We're wearing it as we talk about it. It's soft. It's comfortable. I wear it on the show sometimes on FT. What else do you love about it, Kratz?
Well, I have it on right now, and I'm all about quality. But you know what? You know how good your clothes are when you're a parent and your kids keep stealing all of it. My daughter stole the sweatshirt. My son stole one of my T-shirts. So it's got to be nice looking.
And if it gets a little bit chillier, then it's layering season, and they've got layers for the fall. Shop now at fabletics.com/foul to get 70 to 80% off everything when you sign up as a new VIP. Take a quick style quiz and be sure to select foul when prompted to unlock this offer. This is a limited time offer, so do not wait. Again, that's fabletics.com/FOUL for 70 to 80% off everything as a new VIP.
That's what she said.
Ooh, that's what he said, presented by Lorraine Co. Let's talk first about Fernando Tatis Jr., shall we? KP, we love when we have you on to talk a little bit of outfield robbery. He also hit 2 home runs in a win for the Padres over the Mets. I want to show the tweet first so that we can do the full experience of kid dreaming about this moment, right? This is a 2-time platinum glover, many home run robberies in his career. He's one of the best athletes in the sport. Moving to the outfield was a great move for him to show off that athleticism. And AJ Casfell, who covers the team every day, gave us that's what he said moment that's actually been talked about over time. He said had to be an especially cool moment for Tatis. He once told us, media, that he began working on home run robberies when he was a 10-year-old kid living in New York while his dad played for the Mets. Their apartment had a wall just taller than he was, so he did what any 10-year-old kid would do. KP, many people were saying they thought it was the best home run robbery that Fernando Tatis Jr. had ever done at Citi Field last night.
Oh, I don't know if it was the best. I mean, he's made some pretty incredible plays, but I think given that context of how can you not be romantic about baseball? There's a place he dreamed of, going out and making this catch in New York and Citi Field, considering the context too of, it being bases loaded, what the Padres are trying to accomplish this year, an incredible moment. And under normal circumstances, I would say if you're not hitting him, go take him away. But then he goes and hits 2 home runs the same day. So pretty incredible game for him. And it makes me think about what kind of Joe Maddon was saying about a guy like CJ Abrams too. We're talking about a former shortstop and Fernando Tatis, just kind of a freak athlete. Sometimes when these guys, fundamentally just struggle a little bit at that position in the infield, getting these guys to go play the outfield and allow this best athlete to really come out of them. And I think it's really kind of changed a lot for Fernando Tatis Jr. out there. Watching him move out there, he looks like a natural born athlete. He looks like an NFL wide receiver. He just gets to go out there and be free. And, I think for any outfielder, this is kind of the epitome of what you kind of go to bed at night thinking about doing. You dream about the opportunity of going up, stealing a home run, and to rob a grand slam is kind of like the epitome of robbing a home run. And then once again, if you factor in kind of the story behind it, it's a really cool moment for him. And obviously his dad too, who, spent a lot of time in New York.
As a catcher, you're sitting there and you're always in awe of outfielders. You're in awe of shortstops because you're like, I could never do that. I could never even come close. And for those in the chat who know, calling a spade. Wow, Fernando Tatis really hit the ball far. Probably still going to hit about 25 homers this year. But hey, you know what? I'm going to call the guys out that have called me out in the chat. So do you think that the Padres turnaround has anything to do with the fact that Fernando Tatis played 43 games at second base? Out of necessity, I get it. They had injuries and they need him to move back in. But now that he's back at his, I don't know if it's even his natural position, because I saw his big league debut when he made it against us with the Giants at shortstop. He's a natural shortstop. It just didn't work out for whatever reason, whether it was because his routes, his footwork, his arm accuracy, whatever it was. He has given this team so much more value as a right fielder that when you have guys out of position, and it made me think of it last night because they're playing the Mets, who have everybody out of position, that when you have guys out of position, your team it's harder to win games. And you'll never be able to put that in some type of algorithm. But the Mets proved it. I think the Padres earlier, yes, they didn't hit. But with him back in right field, there's so much more value for this team to just be an overall better team.
Do you agree, KP, on the outfields versus second base thing?
No, I mean, obviously it was out of necessity for Fernando Tatis Jr., but, for someone who played only the outfielder, especially when things aren't going well offensively, there's a time for your brain to wander. You start thinking mechanics. And I know it was necessity, but I do feel like there was a little bit of psychology in the fact they moved him back to second base too. You get him a little bit closer to the baseball. You get him not having so much free time in the outfield. He's got to be super engaged at second base. He's also playing a position he hasn't played in a long time. And it probably really, really got him engaged in the game. When you're playing a position that you're not super familiar with it, you're on high alert. You're so engaged with everything that's going on that you almost forget about the other side of this ball for that time being. And I think, like I said, I think there was a lot of psychology behind it. There was obviously some necessity, but putting him in what is now his natural position, I know initially he came up as a shortstop, but from everything he's been able to do since he's moved to the outfield, that is where he belongs.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he helped out a new friend, a new teammate in Robbie Ray too, by the way, who was making, what was it, maybe his third, no more than his fourth, maybe his third start with the Padres. And
talk about psychology too. Almost a 4-run mistake right there, and then your teammates, goes up and snatches it down. Like that's a confidence booster too for a pitcher.
That's 4 defensive runs saved. I will never be convinced any other way. I get it. It's not 4. You don't get 4.
No, it should be 4.
He saved 4 runs on that play. And I looked it up. The Padres were 20-23 when Fernando Tatis was playing at second base.
That is the most obvious 4-run defensive run saved I've ever seen, because if that ball goes over 1, 2, 3, 4 guys score.
Yes.
Grand slam. 4 runs. Yes. He saved
Grand slam, the best homer there is.
He created a a whole swing of whatever it was, 7-run swing or something yesterday. You add up the 2
Yeah.
homers plus the 4 runs that he saved on the grand slam. I mean, that is Fernando Tatis basically winning the game, not by himself, but you know what I'm saying. He was
Well,
the
it's 'cause
guy.
he's in
Manny
right- it's
Machado
'cause he's
is
in
so
right
hot
field.
right now.
Wait, 2 things. Go ahead, KP first, and I want to address what Erik said.
No, I just said it's because he's playing right field. That's why he changed the game. He's in his natural position.
Never move him off there again. Kratz, what'd you say about Machado?
Machado is so hot right now.
Are you being serious or sarcastic? I genuinely can't tell because
No.
he's not. No, in July he was, and then it dipped again in August, and then I think this was his first home run of the month. No.
Yes, I've just been trolled. I've been trolled on Twitter, so it's a constant roller coaster of, to me, I think a really great player, which people will say, no, he stinks. And then when he's doing well, they're like, see, I told you. I think he's a really great player, but he plays every day. We just talked to Joe Maddon about, like, you need breaks. Manny Machado does not know breaks. He does not want to come out of the game. So you're going to have ups and downs at this point in his career. But in my opinion, he's still a really good player. I get it. He's not hot right now. That was sarcasm. I'm sorry. But he killed it in July. You play through injuries. You play through nagging things. But the constant is Manny Machado is always out there in that lineup.
Mm-hmm. Let's move to the Crosstown Classic. Another walk-off for the Cubs. Another home run for Pete Crow-Armstrong. Alex Bregman was Mr. Clutch in this one too, but here's Jesse Rogers pointing out, no surprise, Pete Crow-Armstrong, first player in MLB history with 2 leadoff home runs and a walk-off home run in a 2-game span. Are you cherry picking a little bit? I guess, but it's not. I mean, twice in a game, his first AB, homer, and then the walk-off, his buddy Alex Bregman, who I think has been a huge benefactor in him taking another step at the plate. Tying hit, 7th walk-off hit for the Cubs. And here's the quote. Let's go over the quote from PCA about the whole series. Said, really good for the city. You've got a second-place team in us, but a first-place team in them. First time they've been really competitive in a while. You said it's just really freaking cool that we put the product out on the field together and go compete. So everybody's excited about these 2 teams playing good ball. They're great games, too. I know they both went Chicago's way here to start, KP, but Pete Crow-Armstrong has taken the next level because I don't know if he's ever going to be the most patient hitter at the plate. Is he ever going to be that Alex Bregman? I don't know if he even should be, but even getting a little dose of Bregman, he doesn't. But do you see the way that he is spitting at some pitches and also just waiting for something to come to him? And that's where the damage comes from. There's been quotes throughout the year of Alex Bregman constantly in his head every day to make them come to you. And I mean, you're seeing it.
No, look at it. And I got a chance to reach out and talk to Alex Bregman in my career, but he was a guy that I always wanted to play with for one particular reason. There was these times in my career, and I was a lot like PCA in the fact that I swung at a lot of things, right? And I would go and do research on some of the bettors in the game. And Alex Bregman is the most disciplined hitter in baseball. Like, his swing is only in a certain percentage, or in a part of the zone. If that ball doesn't show up there, he doesn't swing. So I always wanted to, kind of team up with him, be a teammate, learn from him. And even if PCA could just get 10% better in that area, he's showing these MVP type of skills on the field. And, and look at it. I mean, he's batting 281, 380 on base percentage. So he's walking at a 10% clip right there. If he could just get 2 or 3% better, I mean, we're talking about a guy who potentially has 1,000 OPS on the season, but I don't know what's more impressive, PCA doing what he did or someone actually finding that that's the first time in Major League Baseball history. I'm always amazed at research departments that they could find these things. It's pretty incredible. But, even with Chicago White Sox losing these 2 games, you talked about how competitive both these games are. And I think kind of the jury is still out there. Who are the White Sox? Are they going to be able to, hold off these other teams, chasing them in the division? And there's a lot of talk about the Cubs, that this is a legitimate contender to do some damage in the postseason. And even though the White Sox have lost both of these games, I think they are showing that they're for real. And it's great for baseball when both of these teams are good.
KP, are you more impressed with the adjustments that PCA has made at the plate, or how much better of a center fielder he is than everybody else in the game?
Wow.
Or do you not believe that either of those statements?
No, I think the improvement that he's made at the plate is pretty remarkable. But I think to be that much better at your position than the next guy, and honestly to be that much better at a position than pretty much any other position in the game is pretty remarkable. And for someone that really prided himself on defense and wanted to go out and accomplish great things defensively, what he's doing, the numbers that he's putting up. And at this point in my life, I still don't really know how those numbers end up being the way they are. I don't know how to compute them, but to me, he passes the eyeball test. And for someone that was, pretty good at playing center field, when I watch him, the reads that he gets, the instincts that he has, his ability, and there's a lot of guys that can really run at that position, but there's a lot of people that don't take the routes that he does. There's a lot of people that have the instincts that he has. It's pretty incredible to watch. And what really, really separates him from a lot of other guys, and it doesn't get talked about in his game because there's so many parts of his game that we love. This guy's got an absolute cannon for an arm too.
Do you know how many walk-offs the Cubs have?
10.
Just guess. Okay, that's your
12.
guess. That was close for both of you. 13. And do you know where it ranks in baseball?
Number 1.
Has to be number 1, right?
Yeah, that's a lot of walk-offs. 13 walk-off wins for the Cubs this year. I mean, that's just fun. 13 times fans at the ballpark, places filled up for most of the year, and you're going home with the last AB deciding the game for your favorite team. It's good entertainment right there. It's been a fun year.
That's a good
fun
way. That's a good way to get people in the ballpark. It's a great way to get people to stay too.
It is. And I know
Stay
the
till
team,
the end.
and like PCA mentioned, they're not in first place. But I mean, right now, if you're a Cubs fan, you should be pretty excited, right? You've got the MVP front runner. Your team did things at the deadline. You're in the playoff mix. You've had walk-offs. You've had entertainment, right? You've got a team that looks like it could be dangerous in October based on what the pitching could combine into when guys keep coming back and the run prevention. Yeah, KP?
No, that was going to be my question to you guys. Okay, let's move forward. They play in the wild card round. Who do you roll out? Who's your 3 guys that you're trusting in that rotation? Because the way it sits right now with the kind of sizable lead that they have, much different than last year when they had to run Matthew Boyd out there on short rest. Let's assume that they stay in this position that they're in and they can actually set that rotation for how they want it to look in the first round of the postseason. Who do you roll out there? Kevin Gausman's got to be one of the guys. You went out and acquired him for this moment, but who's the other guys in that rotation you trust?
I don't think it's hard for 3. I mean, I think. Well, go ahead, Kratz. You go first. You're the former player. What do you got?
3 is easy to pick, in my opinion, depending on how Clay Holmes, how he pitches, what happens there. I think he could slide anywhere into that 3. He could be a bullpen piece, depending on how he comes back. I was just on Fox Chicago this morning, and we were talking about it. There is no clear number 1. There's no game 1, even as they're setting it up. There's no clear number 1. Do I think Kevin Gausman's splitter is the best pitch in that starting rotation to go into the playoffs? Yes. I think certain types of pitches play in the playoffs. I think that high riding fastball plays because aggression is paramount in the playoffs. But if you're the Cubs right now, you're like, who throws game 1? I get it. Fortunately, it's still only August, so we're fine. But how much do you have faith in whoever the first person you're throwing out there is?
Kevin Gausman's battle tested, and as long as he's feeling good, I know he left the start early, but it wasn't anything big. As long as he's feeling good in October, cramp. Gausman, Clay Holmes right now, and it's got to be a little bit fresh. The arm's fresh this year. Like last year, you're worried, okay, first full season starting. I mean, he missed a good chunk of the year, and it wasn't an arm injury, so that's good. And then Boyd and Imanaga are there. I mean, that's a decent 4 to choose from, in my mind.
But there's no number one.
Who's
there's
game
no guy.
one?
Because here's where I compare.
Kevin Gausman was a number 1-ish starter last year for the Blue Jays through their run. You think it's that much of a drop off from last year to this year?
I don't see the same Kevin Gausman. I don't see him out there on the mound. Maybe it's usage, maybe it's not. I do love that splitter. I have no problem with him being the number 1. But you go comparatively. You face the Brewers. You're facing the Miz. I'm not saying they're going to face the Brewers. I'm saying Miz.
Well, let's talk about a team that they would face in the first round, because we're assuming maybe Dodgers,
Brewers.
Okay, Phillies.
Zach Wheeler.
You're getting Wheeler.
Cristopher Sánchez. The Phillies have 3 better number
Luzardo.
1s. The Dodgers, Yamamoto, Glasnow, Snell, whoever's coming out there. Like, that's where my concern, where it's just like, oh no, like, did they mess up by not finding that number 1? I think they've made a really nice team, but without that number 1, I'm fearful. The Diamondbacks, shoot, even if the Diamondbacks make it in, I'm not saying they're going to, at that point in the year, they might have to face Corbin Burns first game of the year. The Padres, okay, I think the Padres are kind of in that same realm. I think Michael King probably throws the first game of a series, unless I'm forgetting somebody right now. Casey Mize, maybe. I think Casey Mize is probably in the Gausman type of, could he start a game 1? Yeah, the Padres are looking to get to the bullpen. That's where the Padres are looking to get to. But it just feels like you're a little short.
That's fair. Is their number 1 matching up against some of the other number 1s that you just mentioned, which are some of the best number 1s in baseball that happen to reside in the National League? That's fair. Still like the team.
Yeah,
I like the team.
Yeah, I love the team. Yes. It's just, number 1 aside, it just doesn't feel like you even have a guy that, has the stuff at this point right now that can go 5 innings and not give up a run. It just feels like it's going to be so reliant on the offense having to score runs at this point. And lucky for them, the weather cools down a little bit, hopefully in October. You never know. If Clay Holmes really kind of regains form, one guy that you feel like could shut down an offense, and obviously Kevin Gausman's battle tested, but beyond that, that's really the concern is. I love the team. I love the offense. How could you not love their defense? It's the best defense in baseball. You could keep the ball in the yard. You've got a chance to get outs, but that's really the only concern right now is the starting pitching, kind of the elite of the elite starting pitching. They have a ton of depth, which, could serve them well in a long postseason series, but we're talking about a 3-game series, trying to get out of it, having to go up against, a Wheeler, Sánchez, Luzardo, having to go up maybe against a Chris Sale, and whoever kind of follows him in a, that's where the concern is.
Mm-hmm. Good start for them in this series, showing us some good signs, and PCA is on fire. All right. That's what he said, and it is presented by Lorraine Co. Baseball fans, time to lock in for a new product here. Lorraine Co. remineralizing pouches are nicotine-free, and they're made with powerful nootropics to keep you mentally sharp while supporting your teeth. Go to By Lorraine, LARINE.com, and use code FT10 at checkout for 10% off. We've got some. I'll show you what they look like in future episodes, but we've got a variety. Kratz.
Cinnamon, mango. Delicious. Delicious.
My mouth is watering just looking at them right now.
There you go.
Ooh, a little caffeine. Ooh-wee.
Always nicotine free here. We do not support anything with nicotine. Lorraine Co. Go check it out. Big sponsor here for FT for the next few months. We appreciate their support. We'll be right back. For the families out there looking for a new path to help your child succeed, take a look at K-12 powered schools. K-12 offers tuition-free accredited online public education for students in kindergarten through 12th grade. It's all in a setting that works for your family. And K-12 has been around. They've been a leader in online education for over 25 years, serving over 3 million families with flexible education options tailored to each child's needs, interests, and goals for the future. K-12's dedicated teachers are trained in virtual instruction, and they provide real-time support. Hey, we've heard Todd Father on here talk about how his kids have gone through homeschooling, and it's really helped them for a family that is very much on the move during his playing career. So you can see how K-12 powered schools can help unlock your child's full potential. Enroll online today at k12.com/FOUL. That's the letter K, the number 12.com/FOUL. K12.com/FOUL. Let's do locks. Stinker yesterday. We all lost. Wah, wah. Kratz, don't get cold on us.
I'll be honest. I didn't love my lock yesterday. I didn't love what was setting up. I think there's some times when I feel like I'm seeing where the path is going, and there's just some different matchups that I didn't like, and that's fine.
Do you like
I'll
it
be
today?
completely honest with you, Kratzy. I felt the same way. When I was looking through it yesterday, I struggled to find what I felt was a lock. And then I just kind of went with Jordan's so good that he's probably going to get more than 1.5 bases in a game, and it didn't work out. But I didn't love anything yesterday.
George Clausen just shut down the Astros. 7 strong. Angels beating them up. No, I did not either. Astros have lost 6 of 9, so they're starting to slip again. The AL West is yeah, exactly. The AL West is such a treat. What are you doing tonight, Kratz?
Run differential in the AL West was like our locks board, just all red. I am totally blanking out on what I'm going with. I am going with Matthew Liberatore, 5+ strikeouts. I'm getting back in my realm because you know what? The Reds punch out. Liberatore can get his 5+ strikeouts in that game, and you know who loses? The Athletics lose. But you know who else loses? The Giants. So I'm going with Cleveland's money line, and that's coming out at -101, essentially even money. Put down 101 to win 100.
Nice. KP?
I'm picking on that AL West, and sorry, I missed you guys earlier. I was holding the baby when you guys were talking about the Mariners just getting absolutely shellacked in that game, and I'm gonna just kind of ride that wave right now with. I'm going just Brewers money line, and I'm parlaying that with Dustin May going over 5 strikeouts. I don't think there's a lot of familiarity with Dustin May with the Seattle Mariners. I love the stuff he has, and it's hard to come back after losing 22-0. I know it's just one game, but psychologically, it takes a day or two to kind of get over that. So that's what I'm going with.
Parlay Pap is back.
FT Nation, what's up? It's your boy Pap coming to you on this beautiful Wednesday. We winning money, and we're going to get another lock today. So here it is. I'm taking the over with the Rays and the Toronto Blue Jays. Scherzer's pitching. He's going to give up some runs. And Toronto Blue Jays, they getting hot. They a streaky team. Scored like 10 last night. So I'm taking the over 7.5, putting 100 on it. Let's get that cheese, baby.
Good for you, Pap. That is true. Blue Jays, like we talked about earlier, worst or one of the worst in offense, but they put up a 10 spot last night. We'll see if that continues. I'm going to roll with the Nationals on an upset game. I feel like this one should have been closer to even money, plus 115. It's a Cade Cavalli day for them, going up against Kumar Rocker. Rocker with a 4.5 ERA. Cavalli's on fire lately. He's coming off that 8 shutout, 10K performance against the Cubs. And offense-wise, I try and look at the past month. Rangers struggling against righties. Nats crushing righties. So add all that up, and I think the Nats can pull one today. I'm going 200 to win $230. There are your locks for the day. Good luck to everyone. And You can play the Swing for the Fences game within the BetMGM app. Swing for a daily shot to win prizes like bonuses and boost tokens. You play as a batter. If it's an out, you're not getting anything. If you get a hit, you might get a prize. Gambling problem or concern, there's help. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, SeatGeek scheduling. Let's look at matchups. What do we have here? And what did we miss talking about so far? I'll go back to the Yankees series since I think that one's so big for the Orioles. If you want to get a ticket there to watch that series continue, we had Carlos Rodon making his return, KP, while the Orioles were held to 4 hits, and it was the Trent Grisham show and a 3-1 win for them. So the Orioles need to get it together, of course. We've said this all year, but can't let their momentum stop here in this Yankee series. What do you think?
Well, I felt like that was a slap in the face to me because I went on a limb and removed the Yankees out of my top 10 on live yesterday because of the Max Fried injury, but then Rondon showed up and I take it back. I'm keeping him in my top 10 because, that kind of 3-headed monster at the top of the rotation. You flip-flop the 2 lefties, and hopefully Max Fried comes back and adds a 4th. But love what I saw out of him. But, yeah, this is a huge series for Baltimore. I mean, this is a team a couple weeks ago, especially after the trade deadline, going out and selling, getting rid of Adley Rutschman. You're thinking this team's not going to be in the position they're in now. So there's a big series for them to, try to win 2 out of 3, keep themselves relevant in a wild card spot.
That's fair. That's fair. And it doesn't stop for the Orioles. The Orioles and Rays. If you want to prove you're a playoff team, you got to play playoff teams and you got to beat them. And that's the beauty of being in the East, not in the AL West.
I've got one for you guys that, if you're in Cleveland, the Guardians have certainly looked pretty pitiful at times on offense. They're right in the thick of it. And remember, last year it took them a long time to actually figure it out and then make that charge and take down the Tigers in the division. Kratz mentioned how he thinks they're a sound pitching program and team. They've been like that. But on the offensive side, Joe Adell put together a 6 RBI game, your former teammate KP. So we'll see if that momentum continues. They've got Parker Messick pitching. I mean, this team might still be able to rattle off, winning 9 out of 10 or something like that soon to take one of those wild card seats.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're much like the Rays. They're a team you could just never count out. You look at them on paper sometimes and you go, I don't really understand it, but this is a team, especially with the leader they have in Stephen Vogt, this is a team you never can count out. And, I'm hopping on Joe Adell's back right now. He's and sometimes we've talked about kind of, what goes on in Los Angeles with the Angels. You get a player like Joe Adell, who had an unbelievable season last year, didn't get off to a great start this year. Change of scenery, playing for something bigger than himself right now, and he's playing some great baseball right now.
Who hit those balls hard last night?
Man.
It was hitting, and that's the thing. I think about him because I played with him in 2019. I think about there were scouts that put on 80 as a future player, like a Hall of Fame possible player when he was still in low A, double A. And it's you think about that now. He's at a new place, infused some power into a Cleveland Guardians lineup that has Jose Ramirez and not much power after that.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of power, one more matchup to highlight here, thanks to SeatGeek. When you're looking for seats, by the way, this is the spot, official ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball. The Milwaukee Brewers play again against their favorite team, the Seattle Mariners, after the 22-0 beatdown. Kratz, it'll be Logan Gilbert against Dustin May tonight.
I mean, you get Dustin May coming over, does his tiny little uptick in strikeouts. I think he's at 5 and 6 in the last 2 games. Does it become more consistent? Because you saw a little bit like a 7 strikeout spike with the Cardinals, and then 2. And sometimes that's been Dustin May's kind of MO when he's been healthy, is electric fastball, tons of run. How do you harness that for more strikeouts? Are the Brewers able to do that? That's where I'm at with the Brewers and the Mariners. They just got to get it going. That's it. They need some of their lefties to be able to hit Dustin May's sinker, or it's going to be another long day for them.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we gave you plenty of options, and some of those series will continue into Thursday. Some won't, but you can also look up the weekend and see if there's an MLB game for you in a city near you. Code for you, Territory 10, still there. 10% off the next set of MLB tickets at SeatGeek, Territory 10. Click the link in the description of this episode to download the app, and then you can have that code automatically added to your account, so you don't have to use it tonight. You can, or you can use it later. All right, let's slap. I mean, most of what we have today, unfortunately, is just injury updates. Hunter Goodman, left shoulder strain. He goes on the shelf. And then we get to that time of year where things get tight on some of these injuries. And you wonder if they're coming back. Tyler Soderstrom is one of those. Season-ending hip surgery for him. That's going to happen on Friday. Disaster lost season for the A's. They did not have enough pitching. Some of the core position players did not take the next step or were hurt. Bad year. I also just think playing in a minor league park is going to take a toll on the team in general. It's just feels like a battle. I mean, I know it's a crazy theory, but just hang with me here. Playing in nicer facilities with A+ professional grade equipment, technology, etc., more helpful than B, C, D quality. And Ken Rosenthal's article on the A's was incredible too. I think some people don't realize a team that used to be known as Moneyball for being very analytically focused and driven is actually basically at the bottom of the barrel now. Why is that? They barely have anyone working in that department. So they were not arming David Forst much. Why? Because the owner didn't want to. So it's kind of crazy. The team that was part of starting this stir has, like, for example, if you look at the Rays or the Brewers front office and their ops and their research and development and all those categories, they've got like 5-6x the employees than the A's do.
Well, where are they going to go in Sacramento? They don't even have facilities for their staff to sit in. But you're talking crazy. There's no way you can correlate bad facilities with bad performance. I don't know what you're talking about, Scotty.
Yeah, I mean, the Rays team really changed a lot from last year, except they went back to a big league park, and now they're top in the American League. Like, I just wish we had more examples of how, like, teams would start out on a field that's played on every single day at the beginning of the season, and now they're doing well. Like, Sacramento's field is an absolute travesty, and it's not the field conditioned people, or it's not the grounds crew. It's played on for 180 straight days. It just can't be a facility, let alone cages. Your dugout is not connected to the clubhouse. The clubhouse is in left field. The facilities around, like the support staff, training rooms. But it's fine. We're going to be in Las Vegas in 28, maybe 29. We'll be there.
The neglect there right now is it's painful. It's painful to watch. Edwin Diaz, since we last spoke, us three, placed on the injured list, and it's neck inflammation. I'm never going to judge. I just hadn't heard that one before, but neck inflammation for him. Velo was down, so there's something to figure out. Originally, it was like upper body situation. Then the official diagnosis is neck inflammation. So,
breaking news. I will not be on the show tomorrow because I also have neck inflammation right now. So I'm taking the day off tomorrow.
And is that caused by like looking a certain way for too long? What's neck inflammation?
Well, sometimes when the head, I think neck inflammation is really caused by when you're looking this way and the ball's hit that way really fast, you could get a little bit of inflammation in the neck.
Or whiplash.
We used to call it whiplash. But yeah, my neck is sore. But see, I feel like I've had a really good day, so I'm coming back tomorrow, KP.
Awesome. Okay. That's great. Two more. Masataka Yoshida, significant hamstring strain. He might be out until the end of the regular season, at least, according to his manager, Chad Tracy. But it's not all negative. Roman Anthony hit a dinger yesterday at AA Portland. Everybody saw that, and they're like, call him up right now. Call him up right now. He's ready. Roman Anthony, since he's been hurt, he's been out for over 100 days.
I was going to say tough blow, obviously the Red Sox with the turnaround, getting a guy like Yoshida out of the lineup. But I mean, geez, does this not scream like, hey, I know you've been out for 100 days. One dinger is all I need to see. I'm calling him right now, putting him in the DH spot, bubble wrapping. Like it, Kratzy?
No, I wouldn't. And the people I talked to said he's going to make his rehab assignments. Like, we're not talking about a dude that's 34, like a Bryce Harper that was out for 100 days and then says, I know what I need. I think it's a little bit different. Roman Anthony's like, he's just finishing his junior year of high school. He's so young. Like, it's okay to take time, especially when you're talking about hand, wrist, fingers, like that area. Take your time.
Funny, he's going to show up in the clubhouse, be like, what did I miss? They're going to be like, actually, if you just closed your eyes and woke up in mid-August, this is about where we thought we would be. We just didn't land there the way we thought we'd get there. But I think
not without him.
But most people probably figured, oh, yeah, the Red Sox, they're going to be one of the wild card seats.
Yeah, and just a completely different staff. Maybe go around the room and introduce yourself to some of the coaches, too.
Good call.
But no way. When they said, no, we're not going to meet Bregman's demands, did the Red Sox go, yeah, we'll be fine as long as Roman Anthony's out for the season? No, we're going to miss 100 days of Roman Anthony. They're like, Bregman, how much did you want? Like, they leaned this season on Roman Anthony and said, we need him to be the superstar, and that's unfair to him. But look at where they are at now.
Yep, exactly. News on Max Fried sounds like it could be positive or he won't be out for too long. So that was good. Max Fried, low-level inflammation in the elbow. Hoping he's okay. Good dude, great pitcher. Yanks need him for the playoffs. And on the Hunter Goodman injury, Mile High Territory just came out with an episode to explain more about one of the best catchers in baseball. Kratz hat's on the way out while I show another. We're going to have to come up with some segment to show up the shirts, Kratz.
Well, that's why I wore my shirt and
What?
My hat matches my shirt. I got the DR shirt, and I'm wearing maybe a future DR captain, maybe a 500 home runs by the end of his career, Junior Caminero, who, by the way, is also like 12 years old. But I'm wearing the DR hat to go with my Foul Territory Shop.com Junior Caminero shirt.
And he plays in a big league stadium.
Big league stadiums don't matter, KP. They don't matter.